I sound like a dude.
You sound like you had some Harvey's Bristol Cream last night.
Dear. I'm coming down with something. A cold, sore throat, something.
Oh.
All right. You know, it's a perfect time for my old Lucy. Oh, Ricky, wah.
From Here's Lucy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even the Lucy show. The later on Here's Lucy.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Carmichael or whatever his name
No, it wasn't Mr. Carmichael.
McGillicuddy.
No, that was her maiden name.
Something.
Yeah.
Okay. The point is we have a big Monday show. Nonetheless, wow, I sound like crap. Luke Pundit.
You'll loosen up, I think.
Jim Ward coming in an hour 2 today because he has a thing with a guy.
Yep.
Later on, and then Eric Bowler with some great stuff. All right, I'm sorry. I was reading my reviews from Happy Hour podcast, which was another triumph. Thank you very much. With May Lee.
Yes. The people seem to like May Lee. See, I did it again. I called her May Lee.
Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm. Racist. Anyway, yes, there was extra large dog porn right off the top, very off the top of the podcast. People say they feel used and dirty and they can't wait for next week's. Speaking of which, this week's
Frangela.
Squeeze. I can't squeeze.
Squeeze. How's that?
Okay. They understand. I'm excited. All right. Travis is over there. We're all cattywampus today because Nathan is out. So Anira will be screening your calls, and Travis is over there.
Yeah. Hi, Travis.
Running the video camera. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, girl-on-girl three-way.
Mumbles,
Mr. Mumbles. Okay.
And Nathan is out working on a movie, actually.
He is. He's a big time.
Yeah.
All right. I understand very little of anything he's ever said. He seems delightful. I have no idea what he's saying.
Nathan or Travis?
Travis.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway. All right. It's all Ebola all the time. Ebola.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Ebola. What's with this dumb bitch getting on a cruise ship, really? I don't...
Well, no, this person worked in a lab that was testing the blood.
Right.
And so she was never...
Yeah, she's probably fine. It's
no,
just,
she is fine. The test came back negative.
Right. But I mean, my point is it's just now we're in full-on Ebola panic.
Which is stupid.
Am I going to have to listen to this voice the entire... I feel like
Does it really bother you that much?
I feel like I need to get my scrotum shaved.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Eric Bollard, as usual, has some great stuff. Because I was reading a bunch just, independently over the weekend, and I thought, here we go again. His piece is how the press is doing the GOP's Ebola bidding. Fear is the Republican midterm election theme.
That was a great piece he did.
Yeah, I mean, it is infuriating how, and we've been trying to say this all along. I'm not saying it's not scary. I'm not saying they obviously need to address this, but you go, really? One guy has died, and we're in full on, just reading some of Eric's tweets. First of all, I love this one. GOP regarding climate change. We don't know, because we're not scientists. GOP regarding Ebola. We know exactly what Obama's doing wrong because of science. It's like, exactly, the science denier, suddenly they know that science better than,
Right.
He tweeted, media have provided invaluable election season assist to GOP by blindly adopting GOP's Ebola panic narrative. Yeah. And he had tweeted the first, he says, so in the last week, one American has been infected by Ebola, and boy, this virus is just raging across the country. And I think Bill Maher talked about it. The hospital screwed up.
Yes.
One hospital screwed up.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Yep.
He says Ted Cruz's claims Ebola is coming across the U.S.-Mexico border. I guarantee you he's going to be on Sunday talk shows dispensing expertise. And I believe he was.
He was.
Yes.
In fact, we have a clip of that.
Oh,
Would you like to hear
fabulous. Yes, let's hear it.
The biggest mistake that continues to be made is we continue to allow open commercial air flights.
So this is the thing that they've jumped on.
Yes.
That's the only way, even though experts say that's not, the best way to...
And President Obama, over the weekend in his weekly address, he addressed that head on, and he made a great point.
Yeah, here we go.
Can't just cut ourselves off from West Africa, where this disease is raging. Our medical experts tell us that the best way to stop this disease is to stop it at its source, before it spreads even wider and becomes even more difficult to contain. Trying to seal off an entire region of the world, if that were even possible, could actually make the situation worse. It would make it harder to move healthcare workers and supplies back and forth. Experience shows that it could also cause people in the affected region to change their travel, to evade screening, and make the disease even harder to track.
Yeah, it would encourage people to use false IDs
Go underground.
and stuff like that. And so if they flew here, we would have no way of tracking them.
Right. Excuse me. Do you think I have Ebola? I might. I might be going to the hospital later with Ebola panic.
Do we need to quarantine you and quarantine your dogs too?
Isn't that what my
you've
life
been licking
is?
their
Isn't that
eyeballs.
what my life is? Pretty much quarantine. I don't ever leave my house.
That's true. You require people to come to you.
We may have to make me the girl in the plastic bubble, though. So no one has to actually touch
And you can
me.
kiss John Travolta on the beach
There
through
you
the
go.
bubble.
Exactly,
Yeah.
through the bubble. How did they get to the bubble to the beach?
I don't remember. I just remember there was a scene where he was in the bubble on the beach.
I don't remember that.
And-
But
no?
that's a magical idea to move his bubble to the beach. Will you take me to the beach sometimes?
Well, then he got out of the bubble so he could run on the beach, and he died.
Oh, well, see, that's what happens when you leave the bubble.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and this was, I love this Eric Bowler tweet. He said, I noted yesterday that if Obama did appoint a czar, the GOP would then spend days attacking the new czar. Voila.
Yep.
And there you go. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a political appointment. He's not a doctor. Blah, blah. You know who would be a doctor? A surgeon general.
Yep.
You haven't appointed. And I get what their point is. It's a implementation job. It's not it's not necessary that he be a doctor. It's implementing their policy.
Right. It's necessary that he be an administrator.
Yes.
And he's been a very, very effective administrator in the White House.
And you know what is necessary? Did I mention that? Oh, I know. A surgeon general.
Yeah.
Who then would be, you see the medical experts that generally would be in charge of this sort of thing. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, his larger piece, and we'll talk to him in hour 3. He and Jill Moore doing a little switcheroo today. He just said, as Republicans seek to gain partisan advantage by ginning up fear about the Ebola virus in preparation for the midterm election cycle, they're getting a major assist from the news media, which seems to be equally anxious to spread anxiety about the virus to implicate President Obama for the health scare. Yeah, I said that Friday, like clockwork. The World Health Organization takes responsibility for not responding to the Ebola epidemic in, West Africa quickly enough. And I'm like going, that's not good. How are they going to blame that on Obama? But they did. It's like, how can that be President Obama's fault? Somehow, right?
Well, they also blame the UN for being feckless and indifferent.
Of course.
Because that's under the umbrella of,
of course.
World Health Organization.
But he makes a larger point. If the news media's job is to educate and especially to clarify during these times of steep public concerns, then the news media have utterly failed during the Ebola threat. And politically, that translates into a win for Republicans because it means there's fertile ground for their paranoia to grow. Mm-hmm. And once again, they're going to, whether it's the, kids at the border, they're going to use this, to fearmonger about the brown people with the scary diseases. Okay. Let's see. Yeah.
Well, did you hear what Blake Farenthold said this weekend about it?
I care. No, what?
He said this is how. Well, here, I'll play it for you.
Every outbreak novel or zombie movie you see starts with somebody from the government sitting in front of a panel like this saying there's nothing to worry about.
Zombie movies.
Zombie movies.
He cited zombie movies.
Yes, while he was wearing his feety pajamas.
And we know the cause of zombies everywhere is panels like this. Having panels with healthcare experts. You know what? Because that pisses the zombies off.
I can't believe he's in Congress.
We'll talk to Eric more about this in the hour 3, but I just love his points here. He said, it's not that it's not a news story. Of course it is. Yeah. It's a news story, but he said too much of the coverage, particularly on cable, has been more focused on fear-mongering than solid information. Mm-hmm. We keep citing them having the man that wrote the book on Ebola. Yeah. The fiction novel 30 years ago. It's like, okay.
Yeah, too many people are reporting on what could happen rather than what is happening.
Right. He quotes a Florida doctor that says, I tell people you're more apt to be hit by lightning right now than you are to get Ebola. Anyway, but the Times, he says, noted that the media says the GOP scare campaign is unmistakable. Hear it on cable television and talk radio, where pundits and politicians play scientists speculating on whether Ebola will mutate into an airborne virus that kills millions. And that's what it is. It's just speculation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and anyway, the Boston Globe announced Ebola moved closer to becoming the next great American panic.
Oh, God, really?
I read, there's one ridiculous story after another. Some woman boarded a plane with a homemade hazmat suit. Do you really think that's going to work, you doofus, even if there is someone with Ebola? I mean, we were joking about the Halloween costumes. Yeah. Really? You're in your garage with a hefty bag?
A hefty bag and some swim goggles.
Yeah, because that'll really help you. I'm sure you did.
And a snorkel.
Honey, hold the CDC guidelines up. I can't see if I...
And some Playtex living gloves.
Boy. Anyway, as he points out, the virus hasn't yet infected anyone outside of a single hospital in Dallas. And why in a nation of 320 million people would there be a panic over a virus that has killed one and infected 2 others thus far? I mean, it really is amazing.
Stupid.
Yeah. I'm making a homemade hazmat suit.
Oh, my God.
All right. So that all happened, and we all let it.
Yeah.
We will talk about all the latest. But, yeah, I mean, look at this. U.S. hospitals brace for Ebola panic.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about, the anthrax scares back, right after 9/11, and everybody was like had to get Cipro. And,
you were in New York at that time, receiving mail.
Yes.
Did you get Cipro?
No, I did not get Cipro. All right. Kathy in Madison, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Kath.
Hey.
Hi.
So I wasn't calling about any of the topics today. I just turned the radio on my way to work and heard your voice this morning. And even though you're sick, you're incredibly hot.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I just wanted to say, and I've wanted to call in since you came out, how important it was for me. I laughed. I cried the day that you came out.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, because you, I'm in my early 40s, and growing up in the Midwest, there just weren't very many, if any.
You didn't have that sort of thing. Right.
Yes, and I am, and I'm feminine, and I've had a lot of bad comments, especially back in the 90s, made to me when I came out because I am feminine, and I was told that I was a waste as a woman.
Oh, what a waste. What a waste. Some man somewhere is going wanting because of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you because it it just means a lot.
Aw, thank you, Kathy. Now I sound like I have balls, ironically. But anyway. All right. Thank you, Kath. All right. Love you. A big gay way.
Love you too.
All right. Bye. Okay. What? Is this going to get worse? I think it is.
Well, no, I think you'll loosen up.
Yeah. You think so?
I think you'll loosen up.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right. 18 minutes after the hour. I think I better get that flu shot too sweet.
Yeah.
18 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Right.
Everybody get out of your system on Twitter. Somebody tweeted, I can't believe you let Road Flair Mary host the show today.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Mama, Kevin tweets, Mama, where's your hazmat suit? I don't want to get Ebola. I bet you could. I bet someone could get Ebola from listening to my voice.
Yep. Whose eyeball were you licking?
I don't know. Long weekend.
Yeah.
Hard to say. Nan tweets us, Steph, you sound handsome and romantic.
Oh.
Why, thank you. And she said, by the way, the Bubble Boy wanted to go to a beach party to be with his lady love. They put him on wheels. The John Travolta boy in a plastic bubble. Thank you, Nan.
Okay. Someone remembers that movie.
It's stuck on the weirdest movies.
No.
Dude, the entity, we some are stuck in some weird 70s bubble.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to get the door.
Travis.
Sorry about that.
The door.
I'm a little cattywampus this morning. All right, his rudeness coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Yes.
1-800-STEP-12, the phone number. Let's go to Nick in New York City. Hey, Nick.
Hey, good morning, Mom. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing, and that is to remind people that over 20,000 Americans died of AIDS before the president, Ronald Reagan, ever said the word.
Thank you. Thank you. And let's be honest, Nick. How many people behind closed doors were going, the right people are dying,
right.
It's God's will.
I thought that. We could have been Liberians back in 1981 as for all America cared.
Yep.
We were a class of people that the public didn't care about. And I find it so hypocritical, and somewhat, in an ironic way, this overreaction is ridiculous. And the politicization of it is just evil.
Absolutely, Nick. I mean, and that's the thing is, you think, will there be ever anything that they're not going to publicize to try to make it bad for the president politically? And you think, no, it doesn't matter. Life or death, just like basic health for Americans. I mean, it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I don't know if you ever read, one of my favorite Frank Rich pieces ever was Angels in America. Mm-hmm. He wrote in the New York Times. Yeah. Right, but I mean, he talked about, for those of us that are old enough to remember those dark days of AIDS. But he's talking about the people that stepped forward when there was still all this fear and misinformation, and tried to, like Liz Taylor. I mean, there's a lot of people that are revered because they had the courage to step out early, right?
Exactly, and I wish there was someone with that courage today. see anyone out there, trying to put this in perspective other than the president.
Right.
He doesn't even have Democrats at his back.
Hey, thank you. It's like, there's some Democrats pussing out because it's right before the elections and going, oh, maybe we do need a travel ban. And by the way, the president has, as usual, in his thoughtful way, has said if experts recommend that at some point, he's not saying he's not going to. He's following what the experts are saying right now.
Exactly.
Yep. Thank you, Nick.
All right. Feel better, Mom.
Thank you, honey.
Aw.
Okay, bye. Okay.
Are you feeling bad, or are you just sounding bad?
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
All right. I was getting a sore throat, and now I think it's turning into something now. And I'm not sleeping. It's a whole story. Anyway.
Oh. Are you at least getting any?
You know what? You need to your pie hole. Okay. All right. What was I saying? Yeah. No, I mean, interesting. A lot of people making that analogy about AIDS. I mean, it's interesting how people like Nick must feel when you really stop to absorb that. This is like the scene where Larry Kramer goes to the White House. Like 20,000 of us have died.
Yeah.
20,000. And nobody said the word or cared about it.
Right.
One person's died, and this is like a full-on national panic, absolutely because of what Eric Bollard is saying, because the Republicans fear is always their best.
Yep.
Fear-mongering and dividing is what they do.
Yep.
It's what they do before elections. Mark in Dryden, New York, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Mark.
Hi.
Hey.
Well, I was calling to talk about the same thing. It was actually close to 25,000 Americans who died of AIDS before Reagan mentioned it or put any money aside.
Yeah.
But while we're on the topic of Ebola, that was actually identified by the CDC back, if I remember, in 78. So Reagan had 8 years to work on Ebola also.
Right.
And, now all of a sudden the Republicans notice, hey, we haven't done anything in 40 years.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's disingenuous.
Yeah, no, I mean, but you're absolutely right, Mark, for a political party that mishandled, one of the plagues of the 20th century in our country, to be screaming when one person has died of something that, that contracted it somewhere else it's a little rich.
Right, and I probably should mention, I myself am a conservative Republican, but I mean, the hypocrisy here just kills me.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
All right, yay. Well, yay for you. Oh.
What? Uh-oh.
We got conservative fans.
Really?
And you more than me, because you are a right-wing tool from time to time.
I've heard that.
Vic writes, it's a sort of a love letter. I'll
Okay.
take it. Yes. Subject line, you are cute, but damn, you're annoying. Welcome to my life. Steph, I have a happy clappy moment for you. I am a staunch Fox News following Mitt Romney and culture loving conservative. However, I recently stumbled across Free Speech TV and the Stephanie Miller Show. That does not normally end well for me at all.
No.
The stumbling.
Yeah.
It's like when someone stumbles and then falls into a pool of sick. It's like that. It's usually that. Like, whoa, what is this? Okay. Not Ebola sick necessarily, but just
sick.
Yeah. Oh, are we out? Oh, okay, I have to read the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because you get a very rare compliment.
Really?
And Rude Pundit next on the
All
Stephanie
right.
Miller Show. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. What?
Oh, there he is.
Okay. All right. We are, this jalopy is breaking down today. Okay. Love letter. Let me finish my love letter to you. I'm cute but annoying. That's where we were.
Right.
Who is this? Oh, Vic. I'm a staunch Fox News following Mitt Romney and culture-loving conservative. However, I stumbled across Free Speech TV and the Stephanie Miller Show. Suddenly, between 9 a.m. and noon now, Eastern, Fox News viewership has decreased by 1 since I now watch your liberal looniness, lies, and laboriously lengthy propaganda. I do find it entertaining, I must grudgingly admit, and sometimes you actually make sense.
Huh. Okay.
P.S. Kudos to Chris for being a reasonable person and not being so partisan. See, kudos to you for being a right-wing hack sometimes. Okay. Right.
I just bring a soupçon of common sense every once in a while.
Okay. Whatever. You know who does that all the time? Rude Pundit tweeted something great this morning that you were mentioning.
Yes. Of course you
right.
would.
Well, you said you would read it when we came back. So
Okay.
There.
Yes. Dear media, every time you do a story on whether or not the media is spreading fear about Ebola, an angel dies.
Exactly. Thank you.
Lee Papa, the Rude Pundit. Pundit.
Good morning, Papa.
Your Anne Bancroft voice is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're going to get Ebola through the phone.
It was a turning point for me.
That's it.
Getting this voice.
Oh my! Or is it later Betty Davis? I'm trying to figure it out.
No, it's really late Lucy.
Late Lucy.
Yeah.
Like after she died, yeah.
Or Kathleen Turner, if we want to go totally fancy.
There you go.
Oh.
She had that voice in Body Heat.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
She did.
I feel like I want you to break down a glass door to get to me to do this interview now.
Oh, I will. I will throw the chair through that door.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a hot tub?
In fact, I do.
We're both old.
We'll just make old people references to each other. Rudeness. So, yeah, I mean, this Ebola I mean, you sort of get the media to some degree, but it's just that what you always write about, too, is someone, the caller just mentioned. It's also like you got some wussy Democrats right before the election, right? That are
right. That are saying maybe we should close the borders, things like that. Although I did hear, is it Jean Shaheen in New Hampshire this morning?
Right.
She said, no, I support the president. Scott Brown is an idiot, which that's obvious.
Good.
Yes.
Don't ban flights from West Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although banned pumpkin festivals in New Hampshire, apparently.
Oh, my God, yes. That was spectacular.
White people rioting over pumpkins. Will that be covered on Fox News?
I don't know. I just keep waiting for Breitbart to find, like, the one black guy so they can put that on the front page.
Yeah.
Look, this is who caused the New Hampshire riot.
People are tweeting all sorts of snark, like, why don't those people have jobs? Do they have fathers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I do love that they were trying to flip a Subaru. Just it's the
only in New
whitest
Hampshire
riot ever.
Yeah, that's the most New Hampshire thing
My
ever.
friend Craig yesterday said, "Oh, I love pumpkins like a white girl." What? I didn't realize that was the thing.
I guess
so.
That they had to tear gas people. Everything.
Yeah.
It was full on insane.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking pumpkin festival.
Hilarious. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's we were saying, I know you've probably written about this too, but it just is so galling, the politicizing of this when as somebody just said, over 20,000 people died before the, Reagan administration even said the word AIDS, right? Let alone tried to do anything to stop it.
Right, and the only reason, and you brought this up earlier, is the only reason that AIDS ever got mentioned finally is because Surgeon General C. Everett Koop finally said, yeah, you know what, F off Reagan, I'm sending everybody a letter.
Yeah.
And that got him, and that's one of the things that ended up getting him forced to resign.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, and like I say, there certainly was this, I think in the beginning, it's like, oh, it's just poor black people in Africa, who cares, and this is the problem, is that, again, as somebody was saying, who didn't know that this was, with the obviously air travel and all that today, this wasn't going to get here. I mean, it's ridiculous to kind of go, what did John McCain say? We were told it would never come. It's like, no, we were not told.
No, we were told that we'd be able to handle it.
Right.
That's what we were told. And in fact, that's what happened.
We are handling it.
Now
yes.
that it turns out that everybody that we know that had contact with Duncan is Ebola free, that it was handled.
Yep, the 21
It was handled badly at the beginning, and now it's we caught up.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's just the rush to blame, Obama or even the CDC. When you think about it, it's like the CDC. Somebody sent me I forget what date they sent these guidelines to all the hospitals. They had the guidelines. I mean, how are they supposed to know that they're going to let this guy sit in an open emergency room, not put him in isolation, not train the nurses how they're supposed to even put, what kind of gear or how to put it on, right?
Right. And frankly, I don't know. I don't see how this doesn't get thrown at Rick Perry. I don't see how Rick Perry isn't the first person mentioned in anything that has to do with that. I don't understand why it has to be President Obama. Texas wants a good chunk of Texas, wants to separate from the nation. So this is on Rick Perry. And
who's off gallivanting in Europe? Can you imagine if the president was?
Has he returned from Europe yet, or is he still over there trying to burnish his foreign policy cred?
Oh, how could they get any better?
It reminds me of when there was a blizzard up here, and Chris Christie went to Disney World.
Yeah.
You know, because it was his family vacation and he owed that to his family.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the Ebola thing is just insane. You heard this weekend there was somebody who was on a flight that started throwing up, and they locked them in the bathroom for the rest of the flight for fear that they had Ebola.
Yeah.
And, which of course I just sat there and thought, wait a minute. You mean I could be, taking a dump on a flight and they tell me to go back to my seat and I don't have to? That's what it's...
Yeah.
I mean, there's all of these cases. Wasn't there one, I think the girl ended up being pregnant. I mean, there's all these, scares. And then,
the cruise ship, the poor woman that went on the cruise.
Yeah.
Right.
And they locked her in her room, and they stayed in their room, she and her husband, and the cruise became like this panic ship.
Yep.
Everybody just staying in their rooms. I'd have been the guy that was out there on the poop deck going, "What the hell? Where is everybody? Where's the shuffleboard?"
Well, and then this one out here, I think I was mentioning this Southwestern college. It turns out the girl lied. She was trying to get an absence excuse, and she said, my sister and I were on the flight with the Ebola nurse, and my sister's sick now. It's like, well, first of all, they weren't on the flight, and her sister had a cold, and so they shut down the college.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. And we get all this misinformation about, can it be, what if somebody sneezes near me and that has Ebola? And it's just like, well, first of all, Ebola is not a respiratory illness. So you're right. You know what? If you're near somebody who is at the stage that they have Ebola, or they're having, projectile vomiting and diarrhea, you probably shouldn't breathe around them so that you don't get diarrhea particles in your mouth. But otherwise, you're fine. If they're at that point where it could be spread that way, the chances are they'll be in a hospital.
Okay, that phrase is going to stick in my head all day. All right, let's get to your place, your piece. Your state sucks. Tennessee sucks because it's choicers are liars and holes. So, and you talk about Amendment 1, which and what you says what it does is simple. It says that only the legislature can make or change abortion laws. No state judge can overturn what the legislature passes. So it's a way to shatter, as you say, the balance of powers between legislative and judicial branches, right?
Right. Yeah. You see, in Tennessee, back in 2000, the state Supreme Court said that a lot of the restrictions that the legislature had put on abortion rights were unconstitutional by Tennessee's constitution. Because Tennessee's constitution, the judges interpreted, has a stronger guarantee for a right to privacy than even the U.S. Constitution. So they said, sorry, this is between a woman and her doctor. And because of that, Tennessee became this island of sanity in the miasma of Southern abortion insanity. And so now they think, oh my God, we're now an abortion destination. And it's just women coming there from like Mississippi and Alabama to actually get a safe, good medical procedure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I love the way you ended. You said, this is a damn game with women's bodies and lives as the prize. We argue over who's going to win when we shouldn't even be playing in the first place. Well said, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
By the way, in other insanity, you write of feminism, online threats, and guns in Utah. I mean, this is a perfect example of how insane we have gotten in this country. You talk about a blogger and media critic, right? And Anita Sarkeesian. Mm-hmm. She was scheduled to speak, right? She got a death threat. She's a feminist. She often talks about video gaming from that perspective, right?
Right. Which I'm not going to go down the what's called Gamergate highway because. First of all, I fear, geeks more than I fear ISIS, Ebola, anything. So, so I'm going to step away from that. But yeah, they threatened her, and
it's a horribly graphic, sexist death threat, and talking about that he has semi-automatic rifles, pistols, pipe bombs, whatever. But a typical threat. So. She said she didn't want people to be allowed to bring guns to her speech, and the university said, well, "Screw you," basically, right?
Well, the university said, sorry, Utah law says that people can bring concealed weapons to your event, and there's nothing we can do to stop them.
Right.
So we can't put up a metal detector. We can't do anything. We just have to let them in.
Yeah, so as you say, so she canceled the speech because while a good guy with a gun may stop a bad guy with a gun, all that bad guy has to do is get off one decent shot. I mean, that just seems unbelievable.
It's mind-boggling, and because she was ready to go forward with the speech. She was ready to say, chances are what this guy that made the threat was talking about was his Call of Duty arsenal, and wasn't going to do anything. And she wanted to go ahead and make the speech, but instead, the university would not provide protection. And in fact, was forbidden by law. That's what's important. Is they were forbidden by law from being able to protect the speaker on campus.
Yeah. Well, you finish it. I mean, the really important point, you say, talk for 2 seconds to any woman who posts anything online about just about any subject in an open forum like Twitter. Too many men view it as a chance to throw a bomb at a vagina they can't control. They must be silenced before they get too much power. And you say, here's some advice, guys, one man to another. If you're so worried about what feminists are saying, if you're so threatened by their words that you would write rape and murder fantasies about them, then your problem isn't feminism. Great stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, look in the freaking mirror, Look in the mirror, and although, chances are they don't want to do that.
No, and talk to any female writer. I mean, any of our friends, they will say that. It is unbelievable, the degree of comments they get.
I would say percentage-wise, I get far fewer rape threats than probably every woman ever.
Well, that's because you use phrases like diarrhea particles, and it's just...
in your mouth.
Right. It's just...
there's a certain contingent that...
not attractive to anybody. Okay. But we love you, and you are brilliant, and we will see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye now.
RudePundit.blogspot.com if you want to read more about diarrhea particles.
Oh, dear God. All right, 47 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller 2, the phone number. The review's rolling in from Happy Hour Podcast with May Lee this past week. You have to see it. I mean, you really do. Because her dog was, my dog's heads repeatedly.
And they're
on
still
camera,
tired.
Right behind her. Yeah. Max is still just like, oh.
Still lying in a corner smoking a cigarette after that.
He looks like he's in a prison block documentary on MSNBC on the weekend. April in Salisbury, Steph loved the happy hour video from last week. Maylee's dog is quite the little minx. Well, that's a nice way of putting it. Oh, and see you next Tuesday. Sorry, May. Okay. Yeah, May. Not a fan of that word. Who knew?
Yeah.
David in San Francisco said, Steph, instead of the growling dog sound effect you play, you should use the happy hour line by May Lee. I'm going to kick your ass. That was how we got her to swear.
Yep.
My favorite part of the podcast was her reaction to. Yes, indeed. Hilarious. All right. By the way, speaking of ill-behaved dogs, I had friends over this weekend, and I had Salmon and Max, in slow motion.
Yep.
He just and you know how it's a carpet commercial, you can't stop him in time. But I had my plate of salmon, and he just came and licked the whole side of it. He just went,
as dogs are wont to do. At least it wasn't one of your, the plate of someone who's visiting.
I did what any good dog trainer would do. I took that part of the salmon off and gave it to him to reward such behavior. I was like, all right.
Out of
Who's
Ebola?
the smart polar bear that gets the salmon now?
Out of Ebola fears,
my friend screamed, that's bad behavior. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
did you discipline your dog?
No, I gave him the salmon. Susan wants it now. Gene and...
I'm so glad you don't have children, because you just reward their bad behavior. They would grow up to be monsters.
He did that once at a party. It was a big party, and I saw him lick the side of the cheese. And I was like, cut that part off before anyone sees. Okay, Gene in Cleveland, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Gene.
Yeah, Stephanie.
Hi.
Ebola is just like Benghazi. It's multi-syllable words that sound scary, and it just fits right into the...
Somebody already coined a Bolghazi, I think.
Ebolghazi, yeah.
They can spread all the lies, it's just so easy for them to spread lies, but they don't have any answers.
Yeah,
They never have an answer to how to fix things.
Yeah, well, because it's not ever about fixing things. It's about how do we hurt the president politically. You know?
That's right.
Yep. All right. By the way, a lot of people making this analogy about AIDS. Natalie in Chicago says, Mama and Moose, I cannot help but equate the narrative of let's not help those people over there with a vaccine or a cure or advanced research funding with the whole HIV crisis narrative of it's a homosexual disease, so we don't have to worry.
Right.
The continuous idea of it's not our problem is what's really going to jeopardize human lives. Look at what happened to the gay community in the late 70s and early 80s, all the thousands that died because of the refusal to put any funding into research, outreach, and education. Sickening. Natalie in Chicago. Michelle, Michelle in L.A., you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm really sorry that you're sick today.
Oh, thank you. I don't know what it is. I just have a sore throat. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really confused why I've been listening to the show. I'm a big fan of the show, and, it's 2 weeks to the election tomorrow.
Yes.
Tuesday.
Yes.
And you've barely mentioned the election, at all the last couple of weeks. And
I barely mentioned there's an election coming up.
Really?
I feel like I say it every day.
I haven't listened to every single second of the show.
Well, that's the problem here. Why do you hate America so much?
Like in 2012, you were like, it was like pounded into our head in great clips about Romney and
oh, well, that was the presidential election. But no, we've said over and over and over that, this is all going to hinge on turnout. And we have, urged people over and over, because like I said, I've been saying, here we go again. Somebody said, oh, this is the October surprise. The Republicans are going to use Ebola. I'm like, really? How do you use a disease to your benefit, right?
Right. I just don't feel like you talk about Ebola, yes, and you talk about the president, but have you had Bruce Braley on? Have you had Gene Shaheen? Have you had...
Right. Well, we don't generally have candidates on. We talk about races and stuff, but we don't generally, because that's, then we're just... we're an entertainment show. Then we're a nonstop, campaign commercial.
And we're also a national show, so... to highlight local races.
You've had Alan Grayson in the past, and you've had...
Oh, well, he's wildly entertaining. But no, but you're talking about because once you have one candidate on, you have to have everybody,
right.
And then I guess what Chris's point is, we're a national show, and a lot of people, to get into the intricacies of every local race is not going to be interesting.
I'm just really concerned about the Senate. That's all.
I know, me too. All right, honey. All right, but damn you, Chris, why are you producing the show wrong? We haven't mentioned the election ever.
Never.
Okay. Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institute of Health on the...
I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
Fauci travel ban thing.
The fact is, it would be very, very difficult if you lost control of easily tracking people.
I think that's a really good point. We played the president's soundbite about saying we can't just cut ourselves off from West Africa. He said trying to seal off an entire region of the world, even if that were possible, could actually make the situation worse. He said there's no outbreak or epidemic of Ebola in the U.S., but even one case is too many. Mm-hmm. He said it's a serious disease, but we can't get into hysteria or fear because it only makes it harder for people to get the accurate information they need. 58 minutes after the hour, Jim Ward coming in next on the Stephanie Miller Show.
The show sounds better with these professional-grade headphones.
Oh, what? Who's that?
What? Who could that be?
Jim Ward.
Oh, look at Max and Fred. They're gathered round like a manger scene. Because Daddy has come home.
The petty bed has come back.
It is the second coming. Look at, like little lambs in the manger.
Oh, big damn lambs.
Exactly. Good morning, Jim Ward. I have a sore throat and I sound like I have balls. All right.
You sound a lot better this hour than you did last hour. You sounded like crap last hour.
Thank you.
Now you're just Brenda Vaccaro.
Yes.
Who's been eating sandpaper.
It smelled like she was actually smoking those tampons that she used to
Is she still with us?
I don't know. Okay. All right. Oh, wait. Did you look up Bush administration?
What?
No, not yet? Okay. I'm just asking. Okay.
No.
No, I'm just saying because maybe President Obama needs to come up with a macho name to fight Ebola. Because we were saying the ISIS operation is Operation Inherent Resolve, which is not... Bush administration always had those big, right, like monster truck kind of...
Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation New Dawn,
Operation Iraqi Liberation, which spells oil.
Right.
Not coincidentally.
Commando Eagle, which was our favorite.
Yeah.
It's an eagle without underpants.
Right, because it is an eagle without underpants.
Those are the only two I found so far.
Okay, all right. But they always
Operation Falconer.
Operation Suck It.
Operation Telic? I don't know what that is.
All right. So maybe that's what we need. We need some macho name to fight disease, by the way, that has killed one person currently. That is a panic. We're in a full-on Ebola panic, Jim, just in case you were wondering. By the way, the president said yesterday, fighting this disease will take time. Before this is over, we may see more isolated cases here in America, but we know how to wage this fight.
Unless you're in that stupid hospital in Texas.
Unless you were in that dumb, unregulated hospital in Texas.
Yeah.
That thought it was okay to go, oh, you have Ebola? Okay, do you mind just sitting out here in the emergency room with a bunch of other people for quite some time? Great, thanks.
Maybe it's a good time to let Texas sick D.
Feel free to cough on everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. And by the way, and as we said, we were on that from day one because the head of the Nurses Association called in and said they did not train the nurses, and clearly they didn't. It was like this, these makeshift kind of, what do you call it? Their hazmat suits that's, the neck was showing. By the way, Jim, you missed the story last hour. A woman got in a plane with a homemade hazmat suit.
Hefty bag, latex living gloves. And snorkel,
a lot of tape.
And snorkel equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I heard a flight over the weekend that flew into Dallas. Several people had the face masks on.
Well, all the Asian people do that.
Right.
They're on the flight for like 10,000 hours.
We talked about that on the Happy Hour podcast.
Right. Oh, that's right. Mei Lee, I did ask her why Asians hike with, in beekeeper outfits. And she said because they want really white skin. They don't want, and I was like, well, that's really racist.
And also, they wear face masks because that's kind of an indication that they are sick and they're being polite, trying not to get everybody else sick.
Oh, so I should have a face mask on today, but then it makes it, it makes it a little garbly for radio.
That's not good for radio.
Sounds like those Radio Shack microphones we started with in the old studio.
Yes.
What did people like? So how about the gal that said, I might have Ebola. I think I'll go on a Carnival cruise.
No,
she does not have Ebola.
And she didn't say that. She worked in the lab that
everybody
handled
have
the blood.
Projectile diarrhea on Carnival cruises anyway?
Yeah, I mean...
Well,
how can you tell the difference? It's a perfect place for to hide if you have Ebola.
You're more likely to get norovirus on a cruise than you are Ebola. So,
which is still pretty
bad.
It.
Remember that poop cruise, the one we...
Norovirus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never going on a cruise again.
Yeah, cruises sound horrible.
But that's where you met your wife.
True.
Oh, well, there's a fun fact I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
Why, lovely. A Texas-based cruise ship carrying a Dallas healthcare worker who was being monitored for signs of Ebola returned to port early yesterday. The unidentified woman being monitored disembarked the Carnival Magic.
That's some kind of magic.
That could have been even more magic.
Projectile magic.
With her husband shortly after the ship returned to Galveston. Company and federal officials have said the woman being monitored for Ebola poses no risk because she had shown no symptoms and has voluntarily self-quarantined. Didn't Rube Punnett say they locked her in her room? This is some of these stories.
No, I think she's self-quarantined.
Right.
Well, it turns out she only had D-bola. It wasn't quite
right,
Ebola.
It wasn't
wasn't as bad.
It was the more mild kind.
Someone suggested a new operation name.
No.
Operation Diarrhea Particle.
No. Okay. Anyway, but I was just saying we're panicking. We're turning into a nation of we're treating everybody like Old Yeller, just shoving them in a shed, and shutting the door.
I think she's self-quarantined though. I think that was according to.
Petty officer said, I think he's being kind of petty about this since she clearly didn't have it. That a Coast Guard crew flew in a helicopter Saturday to meet the Carnival Magic and retrieved a blood sample from the woman. He said the blood sample was taken to the lab for processing, and you were saying just this morning it proved negative.
Yep.
The passenger handled a lab specimen from Thomas Eric Duncan, I guess. She was not near him or in the room. Right. She just handled a specimen. She said the official said the woman poses no risk because she's shown no signs of the illness for 19 days and voluntarily self-quarantined on the cruise ship. But again, it's just panic, Sorry, I'm really going to lose my voice in a second. But I'll just keep going until I run out of fumes. Okay, Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings on this very subject.
This could happen any place. There were mistakes. There's no question there were mistakes. But I'm a believer that somehow the randomness of this is going to make that hospital stronger and Dallas stronger as well.
Ah, right.
Sure.
Yeah, it could have happened anywhere, although a place with less regulations.
Yeah.
It could happen anywhere, fertilizer plants blowing up. Can happen anywhere. Okay, just saying.
We don't want no regulations.
Yeah.
Because that's communist.
Right, it's communistical.
Yeah.
All right. And
You can't tell us what to do.
Right.
We want to get sick, we're going to do it.
Right. If we want to leave our neck exposed in our hazmat suits, this is America, damn it. We're going to do it. Okay. Larry in Texas. Hello, Larry.
Hi, how are you, Stan?
Good, go ahead.
I was interested in what you were saying this morning about how the government responded to HIV and how they're responding to Ebola.
Right.
I was living in New York when HIV hit, and Larry Kramer started to act up, God rest his soul.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary.
He's still alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Washington did not even mention the word, and I know this thing not until Nancy Reagan had Ron Reagan Jr. married off did the word HIV even come out of either one of their mouths.
Ron Reagan Jr. isn't gay. Is that what you were implying?
Well, I think Nancy was afraid.
Oh, because he was a dancer?
Probably. I mean, they did.
Well,
I don't think that was when they decided to say.
Actually, Ryan White was actually the impetus for the Reagan administration to start doing something about it.
Right, because a non-homo got it.
Well,
okay.
yes.
All right.
But, small steps, I suppose.
Right. Okay. So that happened. All right, Larry. By the way, Larry, we did not just kill Larry Kramer. He remains alive.
Yes.
Ron Reagan remains straight and married. Okay, let's. I'm not sure what that was all about. I'm going to need to think on that. Okay. Clay Jenkins, the Dallas County judge, yesterday.
I understand the public fear about Ebola. It's new to America. But Louise and those three young men are deserving of dignity and compassion and respect. They've been through a great ordeal through no fault of their own.
Louise meaning the fiancé.
Right.
The ex-fiancé.
Right. Yes, get your air raid siren ready. U.S. hospitals brace for Ebola panic. Oh, my God. Remember the anthrax panic, Jim? Yeah.
They never caught that guy.
No, isn't that interesting, too? Speaking of political, remember all that anthrax went to, Democratic lawmakers.
People who were supposed to review the Patriot Act, but then weren't able to because of the anthrax scare.
Interesting, that.
What a coincidence.
Get Jessica Fletcher on that. A young woman complaining of abdominal pain and nausea who had traveled to Africa arrived at a Long Island hospital fearful she had Ebola. She did not have the virus, but she was pregnant. Right. That also can result in
vomiting.
Right.
And diarrhea particles in your mouth.
Oh, you know what? Really?
Someone wrote to me
You are
and said,
doing something wrong if it does.
Someone wrote to me and said, diarrhea particles in your mouth? I just found the name of my new band.
Wow.
Listen, Rude Pundit was
that
going
won't fit
to give
on
a
the
medical
backstage pass,
warning
no.
to people, and see, leave it to all y'all to misuse that medical information. The woman had been to South Africa, not West Africa,
right,
and
which
the trip had ended 6 weeks prior.
Thousands of miles away from...
Right.
Yes, my lady. It's very far away.
Exactly.
I can't imagine what would Ebola.
Anyway.
But they shot it anyway.
A doctor in New York said it tells you how ready for panic we can get ourselves. There's a lot of anxiety, and the answer to the anxiety is information and training. With the annual flu season looming,
Great.
Hospitals and doctors are preparing themselves for emergency rooms that may become flooded with patients who fear Ebola but instead have the flu. You likely have the flu. Okay. Anyway, but which can cause symptoms similar in the early stages, such as fever and body aches. But fear often trumps common sense, even though people should be far more worried about the flu, given the toll it's known to take every year, doctors say. You're far more likely to die at this point from not receiving a flu shot, said one emergency room physician, which is why I'm going to get a flu shot this week, I'm pretty sure. Because I didn't last year. And you know what happened?
You almost died.
I got the flu.
Well, the one time I
know you're going to say that again, and then
right.
people are not going to get a flu shot because you say the one time you got a flu shot, you got a flu. Okay. Most people
I
should
might
get
have gotten it anyway.
Okay. Flu season typically begins in November, peaks in January or February. More than 200,000 people are hospitalized on average for flu-related complication each year. Annual U.S. flu deaths have ranged as low as 3,000, as high as 49,000.
Yeah.
And where's the freak out on that?
There is none.
You know why?
Why?
Not that many diarrhea particles. Okay.
See? You keep bringing that up now.
Okay. And I'm eating now. All right, 18 minutes after.
What is wrong with you?
We roll along with Maximum Leakage Mondays.
Is that the salmon that the dog licked?
No.
Diarrhea.
That's totally unlicked salmon.
Okay. Because you know where else they lick.
know.
Yeah. Talk about diarrhea particles in your mouth.
Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Join who else put his hand in the air? Hitler.
Jim's back.
Jim's home. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 23 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. All right. By the way, let's pause from Ebola news to cover some really important stuff. Who is the killjoy? A giant butt plug in the center of Paris has been deflated by prudish vandals.
Yep.
Look at that. What's not fun about that?
They
now we
said
can't
it's
have
a
nice
tree.
things.
It's a sculpture of a tree.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Of course it is. An 80-foot inflatable butt plug.
Tree.
By American artist Paul McCarthy. Not McCartney, Paul. Yeah.
Different fellow, you know.
Was cut down from its supports early Saturday morning by vandals, forcing authorities to deflate the installation that many prudes in the city of Paris saw as an eyesore. Sad. Now we literally cannot have nice things. In Paris.
Someone deflated my butt plug.
Can we have it? Maybe they'll bring it over here. We can replace the giant ball of twine or whatever.
There we go.
Something a little more fun.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Ted Cruz, human irritant. Yes. Oh, I think, in fact, let's play it again. Yes, Ted Cruz. He was on with Candy Crowley on CNN. Candy Crowley pressed Ted Cruz on his call for a travel ban from West Africa, pointing out that the public health community unanimously opposes such a ban. And asking him if he would overrule the CDC and NIH experts were he president. Sorry, I got a little chill.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake that continues to be made is we continue to allow open commercial air flights.
You know what he said? The doctors and experts that are saying this are working for the administration and are repeating administration talking points.
Yeah.
Really? Every doctor that says this is about every expert that says this. I see. They're all colluding. Hey, Jim, you know what Blake Farenthold brought up? Zombies. Zombie movies.
Every outbreak novel or zombie movie you see starts with somebody from the government sitting in front of a panel like this saying there's nothing to worry about.
So
and he's in Congress.
We have to worry about Ebola zombies now.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Saying panels lead directly to
zombies. I saw it in the movie once, and so that's why I believe that we should get what do they use to kill zombies?
Guns to the head.
To the head. Right.
Hose.
Excuse me?
They use hose.
Garden tools.
Garden tools.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's what you have handy during a zombie outbreak.
Okay. Dr. Fauci. Okay.
My full intention is to, at some time in the hopefully reasonable future, to walk out of the hospital with her. But we can't predict, but she's doing well.
The nurse.
And which one was he? I don't know.
The one that's at the National Institutes of Health where he works.
Okay.
Yeah, in Bethesda.
The president. Here we
go.
The
only plan they've got right now is to try to make you so afraid, so discouraged, to tell you, to remind you everything that's not working right. That's their plan, is to just make people feel like government can't work.
Which we were saying is ironic because the only place it's happened is in Texas.
Yeah.
Which does not believe in regulation, and where Rick Perry is off in Europe.
Yeah.
Leading from behind. Yeah.
I got my smart girl glasses on, so you can trust me now.
Oops. Degree from LensCrafters. The president will ask Congress to approve additional funding to combat the growing Ebola outbreak in West Africa, possibly as soon as next week, according to Bloomberg News. I don't know. Do you think it might be, connected in some way that they cut the funding for crazy things like Ebola vaccines and, how to control pandemic disease? Should that happen here? Things like that. Emergency preparedness, things like that.
Preparedness? That's French and gay.
Right. Senator Roy Blunt, Republican of Missouri.
Now, this health concern is more real than it would be if there wasn't a sense that the government is just not being managed in a way that people would want it to be managed.
See,
If only it could be managed the way it was during Hurricane Katrina.
Heck of a job.
Because we got the black guy in there now, and so he's for Ebola. Because he's from Ebola land.
Okay, let's go to Kathy. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Kath.
Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Listen, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne Community High School has invited Nancy Snyderman, the medical correspondent from ABC News, to come and speak to our high school students. Thought it was a great idea, except she was in self-imposed quarantine with the rest of her team when her cameraman contracted Ebola and broke quarantine to go get a cup of soup.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking she should be canceling, but she hasn't. But neither has Fort Wayne Community Schools canceled her visit. I think it sends the wrong message to our high school students. You want to do something, to heck with what authorities say.
Yeah, and Kat, the other thing that irked me is that she didn't even take responsibility. She blamed her crew.
Yeah.
She was like, they wanted soup. It's like, okay.
And she's NBC's medical expert.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm starting to hate TV doctors more than armchair generals.
Except for Sanjay Gupta. I like him.
Yes, well, we love him.
Yes.
We've had him on. 29 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. Maximum Mookage Mondays with voice deity Jim Ward.
Hooray.
Lois writes, hi, Mama, when I first turned on the show, I thought maybe Marge Schott was filling in for you. You know what I feel? You know what I sound like? I sound like Carlos's impression of Janet Reno at this point. Get out of here! I gotta go sandpaper my areolas. Change Mom's bathwater. Has she had a little accident? Okay. By the way, this whole Ebola hysteria reminds me of the swine flu hysteria a few years back. I still have my 100 surgical masks that I bought in a panic. Yeah, it's a
little cray.
Little cray and cray.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they have medical experts on TV like Donald Trump on Fox News.
What?
Speaking of swine.
Oh, boy. Yes, he spoke about Ebola and Obamacare on Fox News.
Of course.
He knows better. He also, let's see. Donald Trump is on, I guess, every Monday on Fox and Friends.
He is.
Okay. Page 6 from the New York Post had a source alleging that New York Attorney General and Trump nemesis Eric Schneiderman once did coke in the mid-2000s. The source, a Democratic activist.
Huge amount of coke. Huge.
Okay, somebody that made the allegation in a book that they hoped to have published, and anyway, that was good enough for Page 6 and then good enough for Trump. He said, they're saying he took coke. As far as I'm concerned, he probably still does. Using the same evidence.
Oh, God.
Based on what?
Him being huge.
Huge.
Oh.
I'm a huge jerk.
Using the same evidentiary standards he did when he spoke about Ebola and Obamacare earlier in the
You should call it Ebola Bombacare. Ebolamba. Obalamba Lamba. Ebom Balamba.
It's Ebola Ghazi has already joined the lexicon.
And it's funny because in 2000 he called for the legalization of cocaine.
Huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He seems like a huge...
That's because I was coked at the time.
He was coked up.
Coke to the gills.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Pat in New Mexico, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Pat.
Well, good morning.
Hi.
Nobody seems to realize that there are actually two healthcare crises going on in Texas at the moment.
Uh-huh.
Here in El Paso, we had a healthcare worker in the nursery and maternity ward who had active TB and exhibited all signs of having TB.
Wow.
She spent 2 months working in the nursery and the maternity ward. There are 900 babies that she came in contact with.
Oy.
So far, they have tested over 600. They come from West Texas, southern New Mexico, and Juarez. They have 11 positives so far, so these infants have to be treated with really serious antibiotics. And this is another case where Texas healthcare just got screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not in the news. And to me, this is scarier than Ebola because with Ebola, you have to touch bodily fluids. With TB, that is airborne.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can walk through a room where somebody sneezed and get it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's and like I say, just interesting in Texas. Huh.
Yep.
We don't need no regulation.
Everything's bigger, including their pups.
Yeah.
By the way, noted scientist Jim Ward is here this morning. It's because there's a lot of science-related news these days.
Science! She blinded me with science.
Well, this is a little bit of a medical phenomenon. We talked about this Friday, but Jim Ward, being our expert.
Right. Our expert in many things.
Right.
Well,
But in squeezy things.
I've never done it in the ocean, just near the ocean.
Oh, good to know.
Okay.
Well, the headline is couple in the sea hospitalized after getting stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
As you do.
A couple having sex in the ocean off the Italian coast earlier this week.
The Italian coast.
Right.
That explains it.
Mm-hmm. Reportedly became
Apparently the Italian coast sucks. But
they became stuck together due to suction and required a trip to the emergency room.
Usually a good thing. But
required a trip to the emergency room for them to be separated.
Wow.
Yeah, he literally didn't know where he ends and she begins. It's a love story. They somehow became locked together mid-sex off a mostly empty beach. Well, it wouldn't have been empty if people knew what was going on. Hey, look at those people, they're stuck together. But after briefly panicking, as you would,
sure,
the couple fought their way back to shore. We were saying it's like a three-legged race. It's like a potato sack race.
How did they get them in the ambulance?
Carefully.
Carefully. And they flagged down a woman who passed them a towel. Wow. How do you... Excuse us.
Wow.
We were just in the ocean and we are stuck. Might we have a towel?
To hide our shame.
Wow.
A doctor was called to the beach, but the job proved too tough.
Wow.
And, jaws of life, nothing. Just... The couple taken to the local hospital there, a woman was given an injection commonly used to dilate the uterus of pregnant women. Wow. And the couple were finally able to...
extricate themselves.
Right,
Sure.
go there. Many of our male listeners that were sort of amazed at this because you would think, first of all, cold ocean water, significant shrinkage.
Except that he was already in there, so that wasn't an issue.
And does it cause the lady parts to shrink as well?
Well, I
Or is it
guess
just...
one would think the whole thing would make you, I don't know, maybe they have a future in porn. Who knows? I'm just saying you would think that.
Aquatic porn. It's a new genre.
Oh, I think it's been done.
Okay.
I don't think it's that new.
Anyway, congratulations to them.
See, if only his penis had sonar, he could have
Got it.
Yes.
navigated the terrain a little better.
If only Sean Connery could come by in the submarine to offer some sort of tips. Noted womanizer.
Most things in this womb don't respond well to bullets.
In this womb.
See what he did there. Okay. All right. So where are we here? Oh, let's see. Oh, dear God. The widening circle of people potentially exposed to Ebola in the U.S., calling into question how well Dr. Thomas Frieden, the CDC chief, has communicated the risks of the virus. When the first diagnosis was confirmed on September 30th, Frieden clearly stated that additional cases were possible among contacts with the patient, which he did say. So John McCain, first of all, was wrong.
Right.
We were told it's not a policy. We were told it would never come here. We were told it's not a policy. It's not a policy. It's not the policy. It's not the policy. Yes. Anyway, the Jonathan Bernstein, president of something crisis management firm, wherever Olivia Pope, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Right.
Before she has sex with the president.
Right, exactly. Said Frieden.
In the ocean.
On the next scandal.
He said Frieden was failing to control the fear among the general public. Well, as Eric Boehlert writes, the media is not helping a whole hell of a lot. Donald Trump put on as some sort of expert on Ebola, and the guy that wrote the fiction novel 30 years ago, schmear. All right. Oh, by the way,
I'm going to call it Obama Lamba. Obama Bola. Obama Lamba Lamba. Mum.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, didn't Dinesh D'Souza make that joke?
Yes.
I'm just scared of Ebola's and Obola. Wow, good one. You must be the funniest kid in your 7th grade.
No wonder nobody's buying his books anymore.
Did someone say, did they have Twitter in prison? Really? Wow. I knew. Could you take your organ out for me, please?
Right away.
Wow. You know the whole Catholic Church welcome to the gays? Not so much. No, they took it back.
Yeah.
Catholic bishops scrap welcome to gays.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic bishops scrapped their landmark welcome to gays Saturday. That's just rude. You know what this is like? This is like the Seinfeld episode where they take the rye bread back. You know what I'm talking about. Seinfeld fans know what I mean.
I don't think I saw
No bread for you. No, it's a different episode.
What's his name? Jason Alexander. He steals the bread back. He brought it as to a dinner party, but they didn't use it, so he took it back. Oh, okay. Catholic bishops scrapped their landmark welcome to gays Saturday, showing deep divisions at the end of a 2-week meeting sought by Pope Francis to chart a more merciful approach to ministering to Catholic families. The bishops failed to approve even a watered-down section on ministering to homosexuals and stripped away the welcoming tone of acceptance contained in the draft document earlier this week. I believe they rewrote it to have something to do about reindeer games, and no one's allowed.
From now on, gang, we won't let Rudolph join in any reindeer games.
Bishop Vixen.
Vixen?
Blitzer. What's his name?
What? Wolf Blitzer?
Oh, Blitzen.
Bishop Blitzen wrote
Yeah.
it. Yeah, the new one. Rather than considering gays as individuals who had gifts to offer the church, that's just crazy.
That's crazy cuckoo bananas talk.
The revised paragraph referred to homosexuality as one of the problems Catholic families have to confront. It said people with homosexual tendencies must be welcomed with respect and delicacy.
You mean like priests?
What? Oh, that's sweet. People with homosexual tendencies must be welcomed with respect and delicacy. Fragile. Like glass figurines. But repeated church teaching that marriage is only between one man and one woman, the paragraph failed to reach the 2/3 majority needed to pass. 2 other paragraphs concerning other hot-button issues, whether divorced and civilly remarried Catholics can receive communion, also failed to pass. The outcomes showed a deeply divided church on some of the most pressing issues, including the problem of the gays, who are very, very delicate.
And don't get me started on red-headed people who are left-handed.
The kids are very delicate. They're very
They're delicate like Assad's neck.
Yes, they're
Very delicate. My neck would not snap. It would just snip.
Exactly. Except if you touch the gays very delicately so they don't snip. Exactly. All right, 45 minutes. He does have a little bird neck.
He does.
Assad.
Yes. He's very fragile.
He is. He looks very fragile.
I want to be a dentist.
Oh, dear. Forced into dictatorship. Oh, well. 45 minutes after the hour. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. The Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. Maximum Mukic Mondays. Voice 80 Jim Ward. Eric Bollert coming up at the top of the hour. Oh, looky here. His new headline, flashback when conservative media didn't care that Bush's bird flu czar had no medical experience.
That's right.
It's just so weird how they just seem to lack consistency. I don't know what that could be about.
Could the difference be?
Huh. Hello, Dennis in Manhattan Beach. You're on with Jim and company. Hello.
Hey, good morning. I was curious if you guys had an opportunity to discuss. Bill Kristol was on one of the morning shows yesterday, and Travis Smiley just handed him his rear end over the whole issue of the fear-mongering that's going on in the media. So this morning, Bill Kristol's on Morning Joe, and he and Joe spent the entire segment talking about how no one can prove how this can be transferred through the air. Purely political, purely fear-mongering. It was one of the most outrageous segments of that show I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if you guys had an opportunity to even play a clip of it, because it is well worth listening to.
Yeah. Well, we're on at the same time, but geez, so sorry. I'm so sorry I missed Bill Kristol's latest episode of Being Wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. It was just one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks.
honey. All right. Well, at least you can grab that for tomorrow.
Well, yeah.
Or something. Right. Okay. Why am I talking like this?
Well,
Why am
I don't know, because your voice, it just naturally starts to sound like that.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's all New Yorkie.
Jim, I don't know if you missed the news, but there were white people rioting over pumpkins in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Over the weekend, the great 2014 pumpkin riots.
Yep, in Keene, New Hampshire.
Uh-huh.
New Hampshire.
Because, they're saying they're preparing, if there's riots, depending on what happens in Ferguson with this police officer. So they released preliminary report from the civil rights investigation. The police officer, this is the first time we've actually heard his side of the story.
The police officers, yeah.
He told investigators he was pinned in his vehicle and feared for his life as he struggled over his gun with Mr. Brown. By the way, I thought somebody made a good comment. You can go through the whole thing. It doesn't even matter what happened in the car. You shot somebody 6 times that was running away. You clearly weren't in fear for your life then. Yeah, I mean, and obviously there's, witness reports that dispute what this his side of the story is. The officer has told authorities that during the scuffle, Mr. Brown reached for his gun. The first bullet struck Mr. Brown in the arm. The second bullet missed. It does not explain why, after he emerged from the vehicle, he fired at Mr. Brown multiple times. It contradicts some witness accounts, and it will not calm those who've been demanding to know why an unarmed man was shot 6 times. In the many accounts of Mr. Brown's death, the most potent imagery has come from his final moments when he and the officer faced each other on Canfield Drive. Some witnesses have said he appeared to be surrendering with his hands in the air as he was hit with fatal gunshots. Others have said he appeared to be moving toward the officer when he was killed, but again, a lot of it could be, it seems consistent that everybody said he had his hands up, but he could have been falling forward or staggering, obviously, if he'd been shot. But anyway, one witness said that while she could not see clearly, it appeared Mr. Brown was trying to flee. And the two briefly struggled. It said she said Michael was pulling off and the cop was trying to pull him in. Mr. Johnson said that the officer Wilson was the aggressor, backing up his vehicle and opening the door, which hit Mr. Johnson and Mr. Brown and then bounced back. He just reached his arm out the window, grabbed my friend around the neck, and he was trying to choke my friend. He was trying to get away, and the officer then reached and grabbed his arm to pull him inside the car. Officer Wilson then drew his weapon, Mr. Johnson said, threatened to shoot. In the same moment, the first shot went off. We looked at him. He was shot. There was blood coming from him. We took off running. Never, Mr. Johnson said, did Mr. Brown reach for his weapon. So it's this same, dispute. And the family's attorney, of course, said the officer's going to say whatever he's going to say to justify killing an unarmed kid. Right now they have the secret proceeding where no one knows what's happening and nobody knows what's going on. No matter what happened in the car, Michael Brown ran away from him. And I think that's key. So anyway, we'll see what happens with all that. But thank God there were no pumpkins involved.
Exactly. Where were those white kids' fathers?
Or subwoofers. Oh, that guy got life in prison.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Thank God. Joe in Cincinnati, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello.
Oh, hello. I didn't think to be on so quickly.
Oh, hello.
So, Ebola, this is fun. I'm calling, from Cincinnati in Ohio, and I've been following what different school districts are doing. Strongville, Ohio. This is from last Thursday, so I think a lot of us probably know it already, but they're scrubbing down the schools weekly in response to the Ebola threat, even though there have been, no confirmed cases of anything like that in Ohio.
Wow.
Additionally, this is from, I don't know what website this is. Ebola panic reaches new heights as Maine teacher is put on leave because she visited Dallas. Not like a hospital or anything. She just visited
Dallas.
Yeah.
She watched the show Dallas.
She watched the show Dallas in reruns. You're quarantined.
Put herself in an oxygen tent.
Oh, my God.
Like Old Yeller, get in the shed.
Really?
Julie in Cannon Falls, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Julie.
Hey, Steph.
Hi.
Time caller. Watch your show every day.
Thank you.
I was just thinking about the ocean sex story.
Ocean sex, yes.
And I think he should be called the Incredible Mr. Limpet.
I see what you did there. Oh, Julie, you wrote
feel
that.
Better,
Thank you, honey.
Well, if he had been limpet, it wouldn't be a problem.
Right. Then presumably they could have separated,
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, by the way, so bad news on voter ID over the weekend in Texas. Hey, Texas. What else can go wrong in Texas? Ruth Bader Ginsburg penned scathing dissent on Texas voter ID law. I'm not sure why this one went the other way, because obviously these horrific laws have been struck down in other places, but the Supreme Court upheld this voter ID law in Texas. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg issued a 6-page dissent early Saturday morning, blasting the court's decision to allow Texas to use its new voter ID law in November elections. She was joined by Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor. If only we could just kick all the men off the Supreme Court. The greatest threat to public confidence in elections in this case is the prospect of enforcing a purposely discriminatory law, she wrote, one that likely imposes an unconstitutional poll tax and risks denying the right to vote to hundreds of thousands of eligible voters. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
Ginsburg disputed the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals argument that it was too close to the November election to stop the law. I have no idea why this one went that way, and I don't know what was the last one that was just struck down, but
Maybe they need voter IDs because everyone was putting on Rick Perry smart glasses, and they couldn't tell if it was Rick Perry or
Superman.
Someone pretending to be Rick Perry. Someone with a phone booth. Oh, wait, they don't have those anymore.
No. Oh, Wisconsin. They struck it down in Wisconsin.
They did. It all depends on how the statute is written, unfortunately.
Yeah.
In crayon.
By the way, Governor Scott Walker, was asked, what's your position on the minimum wage? Should we have one? He said, well, I'm not going to repeal it, but I don't think it serves a purpose because we're debating then what the lowest levels are at. I want people, like I said the other night, to make 2 or 3 times that. Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
That's big of you.
Okay. You would like that? Okay.
Gee,
the point is,
if only you were in a position to do something.
Right. If only you had some power to help people in that regard. Whatever.
I don't trust anyone who says things like where it's at.
Right.
Yeah. Never end a sentence with a
preposition.
That ain't good English talking.
Right.
Where it's at, a-hole. There. That's more proper.
Thank you. All right. Jim Ward is off to, loop some foreign language into something, and I don't know.
I'm not doing that this week, but I do have a couple jobs.
He's got to go. He's got a real job now. Here we go. Eric Bowler next as we continue on the Stephanie Miller Show.
You okay?
1-800-STEP-12, the phone number toll free from anywhere. Happy Monday, everybody.
Yes.
All right. This is a long time for me to have to wait.
Why?
To talk to Eric Bowler, because, Eric Bowler from Media Matters for America, doing the Lord's work as usual.
Eric Bowler. Eric Bowler.
Let's dive into the right-wing world. I don't know what that means. Eric Bowler from Media Matters, whom we love.
Bowler.
Good morning, Eric Bowler.
Hey, good morning.
I'm all like built up with anticipation by Monday. I have so many things to talk to you about. By the way, your one tweet that I quoted earlier where you said, where is it here? Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I noted yesterday that if Obama did appoint a czar, the GOP would then just spend days attacking the new czar, and voila.
Yeah.
And,
that's exactly what happened.
And your latest thing this morning is flashback when conservative media didn't care that Bush's bird flu czar had no medical experience. Why, looky there.
Yeah, the Bush's bird flu czar had been general counsel for Amtrak. No education in public health or medicine.
That would be like somebody putting someone in charge of FEMA that had been an Arabian horse expert. That makes no sense.
But, there was, in the end, there was no indication that he should have had a medical background, and there's no indication that Ron Klain should have one either.
Right.
Virtually nobody objected when Bush announced his bird flu czar with no medical background. But, yeah, the GOP and Fox, this is just a classic, overlapping. They're all reading off each other's notes. For days and days, they demanded the White House do something. They demand he appoint a czar, and then they do it, and within 4 minutes, they all announce he appointed the wrong czar. What is wrong with you?
And as we were saying earlier, Eric, who should have medical background would be the Surgeon General, and we also don't have one of those because of Republican obstruction.
Yeah, right. No, what I wished is that Obama had just appointed his bloc Surgeon General to become the Ebola czar. That would have been
a brilliant idea. But I think
and then they would have there would have been someone with a medical background.
Yeah.
And they would have attacked him because he had the wrong medical background, because he has this weird idea where there's an intersection between public health and the 32,000 Americans who die of gun violence each year. So I mean, this is just classic. Heads you win, tails you lose. But the problem is, the press treats it as news. So I was just reading, CBS online today. Ebola czar faces uphill battle. The whole first 3 paragraphs are about, Republicans don't like Obama's Ebola czar. He's got an uphill battle. They don't like anything. Are we really pretending 6 years into the charade that it's news when Republicans robotically object to everything the White House does?
Yeah.
Yes. The sad answer is yes.
Well, and, as usual, you just uncover one hypocrisy after another. You tweeted GOP regarding climate change. We don't know because we're not scientists. GOP regarding Ebola. We know exactly what Obama's doing wrong because of science.
Yeah.
Right.
They're experts now on contamination, on virus, on flight bans. They know all the ins and outs of modern day, virus science. But they can't figure out what 97% of scientists can figure out. Yeah, and the piece I did late last week was, how the mainstream press has just been doing the Republican bidding on Ebola, which is panic, freak out, everything is out of control. And if you take, 2 steps back, we've got a nation of 320 million.
Right.
2 Americans have been infected. Oh, everything's,
right. Raging across the country.
Can't figure anything out.
Right.
Obama's out of the loop. Everything. 2 people out of 320 million. Seems like a pretty decent effort to control a rare disease, and one that this Texas hospital completely screwed up.
Yeah, and as you tweeted, as you watch blunders unfold in Dallas, remember the GOP mantra regarding health care reform is the U.S. has the greatest health care system in the world.
Right. And Rick Perry has nothing to do with any of this, right?
Right.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
You've got a local Texas. If Ebola is a crisis, it's only a crisis in Dallas, Texas, and it's only a crisis in the hallways of Texas Presbyterian.
Right.
So this is a Texas problem. These are Texas screw-ups. Dallas Morning News, I tweeted this timetable they put up, basically just listing everything that hospital did wrong.
Right.
Rick Perry goes to Europe.
Yeah, and by the way, they obviously did not follow CDC guidelines. They left him, didn't quarantine him, left him out, with other patients.
There are nurses at risk.
Right, didn't train the nurses properly in how to, to use their, protective gear. I mean, right? Yeah, one thing after the other, and somehow it's Obama's fault, right?
It's Obama's fault. Rick Perry goes to Europe. Rick Perry hasn't been to Dallas in 20 days. Since the Ebola story broke. He has no interest in being anywhere near this story. That's his leadership, right? He got on a gunboat with Sean Hannity and cruised up and down the river on the Mexican border when that looked good, when that was easy, photo op.
Yeah.
Goes to Europe, literally won't show up in Dallas for 3 weeks. But we do know he has to show up in court on Halloween because he's being indicted. So he had to come back to the country for that.
But Eric, once again, it's the mainstream media that continues to just be, beyond irritating. Again, you can sort of predict all this stuff in, right-wing circles. But, as you write, as Republicans seek to gain a partisan advantage by ginning up fear about the Ebola virus in preparation for the midterm election cycle. We're 2 weeks out now, right? They're getting a major assist from the news media, which seems to be equally anxious to spread anxiety about the virus and to implicate President Obama for the health scare. I mean, didn't you say somebody said this is like the October surprise? And you think, well, only because the Republicans always run on fear-mongering, right?
Right. They always run on fear-mongering. I pointed out, I think it was Thursday night last week, 15 Ebola stories on the Washington Post homepage. I mean, if you're the RNC, you're like, this is just free advertising. This is like a godsend. It's not, the coverage of this isn't, news and how a disease spreads really and things like that. It's just total panic. And the DC press has just been absolutely rushing into the storyline. What did Obama do? What's this say about his leadership? What are the optics? I mean, this stuff has been so ingrained in the DC press. They just absorb it. They don't even have to be told by the RNC anymore. They're just robotically. And the other point about the coverage is I pointed out 3 different polls, right? Non-stop Ebola coverage for 3 weeks, especially on cable news. I point to 3 polls. Most Americans have no idea the simple facts about Ebola, how it spread.
But again,
what does that say about our news coverage?
That's what I was just going to say. Is you say, the news media's job is to educate and especially to clarify during times of steep public concerns. Then the news media has utterly failed during this Ebola threat. And as you say, it's not that you're criticizing that. Of course, it's a news story.
Yeah.
But as you say, so much of the coverage is just it's fear mongering and speculation. And we've pointed out one thing after another. Some CNN going, oh, we have the guy that wrote the book on Ebola. He wrote a fiction novel 30 years ago. You can't, present people as experts, right?
Present people as experts, have them come on and do sort of these what-if scenarios.
Right.
And look, I'm pretty sure I counted 3 different New York Times columns over the weekend, about the optics for Obama, tying Ebola into the Secret Service because they're both Obama's fault. It's just like, this is the most lazy, uninteresting GOP talking point, and everyone just sits around.
Well, we learned that on the Secret Service. Who was it that wrote the piece, Chris, that they had to take back, they basically blame the president for his own assassination if it happens.
Oh, yeah. No, and how, how is Obama's security falling down the fault of the, talk about blaming the victim, the guy who's being abandoned by the Secret Service, it's your fault. So, and again, it's just sort of this lazy connect the dots, and like I said, the press has just been absolutely eager to talk about the political implications for Obama. No, as we mentioned, there are no political implications for Rick Perry. That category does not exist as a news category.
Yeah.
It's only about Obama. It's only about his leadership. And now here we are, the Ebola victim's girlfriend, it turns out doesn't have it. No one in his family had it.
Yeah.
They're all off the quarantine. World Health Organization now says Nigeria is Ebola free. Yes, there's an absolute crisis in Liberia. But again, if it weren't for the screw-ups at that Texas hospital, there would be no Ebola story in the United States, period.
Right.
Story.
Right. And you say that the virus hasn't yet infected anyone outside of a single hospital in Dallas. Why, in a nation of 320 million people, would there be a panic over a virus that has killed one and infected 2 other people? It really is. You were saying, Boston Globe announced Ebola has moved closer to becoming the next great American panic. Well, because of the Boston Globe saying things like that.
Yeah.
And then my other pet peeve, of course you mentioned, is the people speculating whether it will mutate into an airborne virus. Okay. I guess, maybe, but you go, why? That's just mindless fear-mongering, right?
No, George Will on the Fox News Sunday, talked about it openly, saying there are some doctors who think it will. And, Chris Wallace, I guess, to his credit, any high school student would have had the same reaction, like, wait, nobody thinks that. What are you talking about? But, here's George Will, who travels our campuses as a deep thinker of American politics, going on TV, just absolutely stoking the most debasing kind of fear-mongering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love you. The one doctor you quoted is, I tell people you're more apt to be hit by lightning right now than you are to get Ebola. And yet, here we go into flu season, and as, all the headlines today that there's going to be, Ebola panics at hospitals.
No, it's funny because I looked at some of the local coverage. And that was just some doctor in Texas. And, I found a few other, because every local newspaper, what do you think? And all the local doctors are like, you could find countless examples of quotes from local doctors saying, well, your odds are better getting hit by lightning right now.
Right.
That's what local doctors are calling local newspapers.
Yeah.
But you turn on the cable channel, or you read all 15 articles on the Washington Post website on one day about Ebola, and it's just like, good grief. Imagine and here's the scary part. Imagine if it truly were a dire situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine if this had spread from Cleveland to Oakland to Atlanta. My God.
Yeah.
Well, the news coverage would be utterly useless because it would just be insane.
And Eric, a lot of people bring up this morning. Boy, speaking of politicizing illnesses that we talked about, many of us are old enough. Go, wow, 20,000 people died before the Reagan administration even mentioned the word AIDS or did anything about it, or any funding, or for research or anything. And and like you say, this is a liberal media still. When like, as you say, to me, they operate completely on the Republican, talking points. There's no even mention of that.
Yeah, no, and again, the talking points it's been ingrained. It is so automatic for them. Any story that comes up.
Yeah.
What did Obama do wrong? How is he to blame? Russia crosses the border into Ukraine 5,000 miles away, however far it was. What did Obama do wrong? What did he? Everything.
Right.
It's and we've never really seen this kind of coverage before. And I guess, pathetically, to the Republicans' credit, they have absolutely created this automatic response within the D.C. press. So it's unthinking, and I don't even think they don't even not realize that they're following the Republican lead because it's such an easy, simple story
Yeah.
to talk
No,
about.
I mean, but right, exactly. But to see, like, you know, whether it's Peggy Noonan or any of these people, like, sort of casually, like, you know, mentioning all these things together, like, oh, you know, IRS in Benghazi and now this. It's just people have lost trust in government. But, like, really? As opposed to when, you know, Reagan, who you worked for, ignored a plague that had already killed 20,000 Americans, or when, you know, the Bush administration during Hurricane Katrina, name any, right? You just are like, oh, now people have lost trust in government.
Yeah, and as I pointed out in my piece, you know, two polls 10 days apart, the only two that I've seen that specifically asked, you know, the federal government, do you have faith in the federal government to handle the Ebola? Majority of yes, and the one from last week, a majority of Republicans said yes, I have faith in the federal government. But virtually every pundit, you know, that parades on TV talks about Ebola, how this is, you know, just the latest example of them. You know, people don't have faith in their government anymore because of the IRS and Secret Service, supposedly.
Yeah.
But the polls are clear that they do, and there's no reason in the last 10 days for them not to.
Yeah.
Yes, the CDC wishes they'd done some things differently, but my gosh, in the scheme of things.
Yeah, exactly. Eric, great stuff as always. Got me through my weekend. All right. Thank you, sir.
Talk to you.
All right. Big jug of Chardonnay and Eric Bowler tweets.
Yeah, well, he's
Only way I
very
can
good.
get through the Sunday shows.
Yeah, a lot of people are tweeting saying that Bullard is really the only person in the media who's
I know.
speaking common sense.
Thank you. 21 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. 26 minutes after the hour. Okay, Brenda Vaccaro is still with us.
According to
as is
Wikipedia.
Eric Kramer. There's a couple of people on the show announced dead that are not dead. Oh, for God's sakes. Oh, speaking of which, I did this story with May. A 114-year-old woman lies about her age to get on Facebook.
Yep.
Because, you know why? Facebook does not let you choose a birth date before 1905.
Yeah.
She was born in 1900, so she did what most people do on the Internet and lied about her age, choosing 90. She just picked a number. And I was saying that I'm old enough where it takes too long to find your age.
Yeah, you have to
like,
scroll through a lot of
God
years.
sakes, they have my year?
Yeah, I'm getting
I'm
to
too
that.
old to even make it down to where my year is. Oh, for God's sakes, I give up. I gotta take a nap.
Yeah, it's a little disconcerting having to scroll down that far.
Scroll. I just aged another year. Okay. Pot stack.
Okay.
Yeah, this would seem ironic. Pot Magazine High Times Party ran out of munchies. You think they would have prepared for that, although they may have been too high to pre-plan.
That's true.
Guess at the 40th anniversary bash for High Times, the Pot Magazine.
They didn't think about going to Costco and buying just a pallet of Doritos?
They ran out of munchies.
All right.
The party had just heated up when they ran out of Oridorves, and they had to call a pizza place for 10 pizzas, which was snarfed up immediately.
Apparently. Okay.
Stoners forgot to order the munchies.
Doritos and Cheetos do just fine.
Oh, speaking of Halloween fear-mongering, not only did Blake Farenthold tell us that Ebola, we may have Ebola zombies on our hands by Halloween, according to the doughy pantload from Texas. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, Halloween candy may contain marijuana. Denver police warn because, you know, marijuana, obviously legal in... Yeah.
Sure.
Marijuana now legal in Colorado. Cannabis can be a big part of the scene. Denver police issuing an unusual warning ahead of Halloween. In short, they want people to know that not all candy is for kids and not all tricks are for kids. With edibles growing in popularity, we thought it was important for the community to alert them to the possibility it's easy to mistake what looks like regular candy with a marijuana edible. Careful, City by the Bay. Careful.
We love you, Denver!
Right.
City by the Bay!
Okay, Courtney in Rochester, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Courtney.
Hello, Steph. Yeah, I'm getting sick of these people blaming the workers all the time for the Ebola breakout. You got to report the facts, Stephanie. You have responsibility. Right. You're our voice.
Yes. What'd I do?
It's a non-profit. It's a for-profit hospital.
Right. It's a private hospital. We've said that.
For-profit means they send you home if you don't have insurance. Regardless, the only
I've mentioned several times it's a private hospital.
Yeah.
Is to stabilize you.
Right. Okay. All right.
That was Corky in Rochester.
Apparently, I have not talked about the midterm elections coming up at all, or if I mentioned that it's a private hospital. I am falling down on the job left and right.
Way to go. Or is that my producing skills that caused you to do that?
I blame you for everything.
Great.
All right, 29 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Let's go to Fakina in Maryland. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
It's an honor to speak with you.
You too.
I love your show, and I'm nervous, first-time caller.
Oh, don't be nervous.
I will be gentle.
I'm not a religious person, but it just amazes me how these so-called Christians, including people in office, are so fearful of everything. Terrorists, Ebola. It's just the hypocrisy. It's just amazing. I just had to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I missed Jim.
Yeah. I missed Jim, too, and he's only been gone for like 2 minutes. Let's go to Charles in Santa Fe. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Charles.
Yes.
Hello.
Fantasy Mexico. I was curious about the Republicans.
Okay.
I hope they lose quite a bit this time. It's upside down.
Travis, is this a relative of yours?
And for 6 years they've given us.
Okay, I can understand. Was that what that might have actually been Dustin Hoffman in?
It could be
Mr. Mumble's role. Okay, I couldn't. Is it
Travis understood him.
Did you?
Mumbly people understand each other.
Mark in Pennsylvania, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Mark.
Morning.
Hi.
I think you're number one too, Travis. Hi, Mark.
Hi. I was just wondering if anybody else out there thinks that Blake Farenthold looks like Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine.
You're absolutely right.
Well, he looks like he ate several Alfred E. Newmans, but yes.
Exactly, the fat Alfred E. Newman.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's.
There's that picture of him. Remember in the footy pajamas at that pajama party that he was at.
Yes, and I sympathize because, as I told you, I could fit a quarter, a nickel, and a dime in between my two front teeth when I was a kid. Did I say teeths?
You said teeths. Why'd you say teeths?
I don't know. I'm tired.
Oh.
Okay, yes. Here is Blake Farenthold bringing up the important zombie factor in the Ebola.
And he's a congressman.
Right.
Every outbreak novel or zombie movie you see starts with somebody from the government sitting in front of a panel like this saying there's nothing to worry about.
Great.
Did you mention that he is a United States congressman?
Congressman,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay. All right. Buddy in Columbus, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Buddy.
Hey, Mama, two things that have gotten a little traction in the press that I find absolutely unforgivable. The first is we need a travel ban from planes going from West Africa to here. We don't have any.
I think we should quarantine Texas. How about that?
Yeah.
I think we should have a travel ban to Texas.
Absolutely. You fly to Lagos or London or Paris, then to the United States. There's no direct flight.
Right.
And the second is, I looked up the resume of the man Obama picked for Surgeon General, Vivek Murtha.
Right.
I hate him. Look at his background. By the time he was 30, he has a B.S. in biochemistry from Harvard, an M.D. from Yale, an M.B.A. in Yale in medical management, interned at Harvard Medical School, was a professor at Harvard in medicine, and then
what a pointy-headed geek.
People like Ted Cruz say, well, he's not a healthcare professional. Oh, come on.
Right. I think they were talking about the Ebola czar is not a medical professional.
No, he was also talking about
oh, was he?
Vivek Murtha.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying, well, he's not a real professional.
Oh, please. Yeah, because he has the audacity to bring up the fact that guns seem to appear to be a bit of a health risk here in the United States.
Hey, and you know, just as background, a B.S. in biochemistry, and you're the top of the class at Harvard, you know, that's probably a little better than a degree in drama from USC.
Why, how dare you, sir? How dare you? That was a direct shot at me.
That was. Oh.
At least I can act like I'm concerned.
Blanche,
okay,
it's time to go.
Hello. Kevin in D.C., you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Kevin.
Well, good morning, lovely stuff.
Yes, sir.
I was just thinking, well, truthfully, you know what I was thinking about.
Yes,
well,
sure. Of course. That goes without saying.
Popped in my head, but I was thinking, I'm sure you've heard by now that Nigeria, I actually heard this a week ago, but now I've seen it reiterated today in a different source, that Nigeria's gotten a handle on the Ebola crisis.
Right.
So surely the alleged most powerful country in the world could do the same thing It's quite disturbing that Nigeria can get a handle on it, and we're still bickering. You know, I've seen Republicans, quite frankly, try to, as they usually do, do the blame game more.
Right.
But the fear mongering, you would think that there's certain crises where we would cut that stuff out.
Yeah, no, of course not. I mean, they've proven, once and for all, there is no crisis they will not exploit politically.
And you have tried to tame it, but I'm sorry, the evidence, and you had these two gentlemen, I'm blanking on their name, you had them, they did a report a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half and they're both Republicans, staunch Republicans, but they did an article saying basically it's the Republicans doing this partisan stuff, and they are.
Yeah, Norm Ornstein, I think, and I forget, yeah.
Yeah, I believe you had them on once, if I'm incorrect,
Right.
Forgive me.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is, we had Tina Dupuy on last week, of course, with that brilliant piece where she said, yes, let's politicize Ebola. If anyone should be winning politically on politicizing Ebola, it should be Democrats and the president, right? I mean, it's the Republicans that have blocked the surge in general, that have blocked funding, that have cut funding for the NIH and the CDC and all of that, right?
And Democrats have begun to push on it, and like most bullies tend to react. I mean, if you just so much as gently point that out, then they go they go crazy. Mm-hmm. But unlike their bizarre Ebola theories that I've heard congressmen, not fringe people, congressmen, even say this is a fact of. I mean, it's documented the blocking and that they've done in the situation. Right. So I'm just again belonging to a group that has been demonized and generalized. I don't want to do it, but
right. And by the way, I mean, as Eric pointed out too, it's like one hospital in Rick Perry's Texas screws up the CDC's guidelines, and it's Obama's fault somehow, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But of course, just with the czar thing, they're the ones who've been screaming. It's documented. Some of them are screaming, "We need a czar for this thing. We need a czar for this thing." They want to appoint one within minutes. Not even a day, within minutes. It's
the wrong czar, exactly.
It's the wrong czar. So I have never seen anything like this outside of my childhood. Kids do this kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Kev, thank you. By the way, you mentioned earlier the breaking news that there was a Daddy Longlegs in
your bathroom.
Right.
I almost crawled into my underpants.
Right, and I said, did you kill it? And you said no. And I'm like, what is the point of having boys here? What is the point of boys except to kill bugs for you?
Boys are icky. Throw rocks at them.
Whatever. Okay. Anyway, even if you woke up with a Daddy Longlegs in your underwear, or you think you have Ebola, you are not the guy at McDonald's that said his coffee came with a free dead mouse.
Oh!
Gawker brings us the story.
Thank you, Gawker.
He drank the entire cup.
Oh, and then he saw the mouse? Okay, that's kind of gross.
He said, I always take the lid off to get my last sip. But on a visit to McDonald's, he found something in his cup that ruined the last bit of coffee there, a dead mouse. Also, the unfortunate rodent came complete with a few little, shall we say, presents that he had dropped.
Oh.
Gawker says, no, let us say tiny mouse instead. Because although it wouldn't be hard to plant a mouse in a cup and blame him on McDonald's, we've seen those stories before. His coworkers corroborated his story. He definitely consumed the entire cup of coffee with the mouse in it. Unless I had been there and seen Ron drink all that coffee down to the last drop, I would have been like, you're lying, one of them said. McDonald's said we would all caution against jumping to conclusions until more details are available.
Well,
said the company that maybe served a man with tiny mouse-flavored coffee.
But there are people that go around.
Right, but I'm just saying his coworkers corroborated the story, so I understand more details about how most people would prefer to have mouse in their coffee or not.
Wasn't that a plot point of Victor Victoria? Doesn't Julie Andrews put a fly in her soup in order to get the meal for free?
I think you're correct. Why are we going back to... We are old people. We have not made a movie reference for anything in this...
In this, or the last decade.
Last 2 decades.
But that was a plot point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Now we're going to have trouble. You know why?
Why?
Because professional clowns are unhappy. And if you thought they were freaky and scary before, they're unhappy with American Horror Story's murderous clown portrayal.
Well, that is a very, very, very scary clown that's on that show.
Could I have some appropriate music for this plea? Clowns of America International, the nation's largest clown club, except for the Republican Party. I had to get that right. Okay. Spoke to the Hollywood Reporter about American Horror Story Freak Show's clown problem.
Twisty is the clown's name.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Is there a harder month than October to be a clown? Apparently not. Children run from you. Adults pretend they're afraid of you to make it seem like they have a personality. American Horror Story Freak Show creates a legitimately scary character out of your profession. Professional clowns have had just about enough. Specifically, they've had enough of Twisty the Clown.
Mm-hmm.
A clown who kills people with scissors.
Like stabs them graphically, and he also steals and kidnaps children.
Okay.
And puts them in the back of a filthy Volkswagen van.
The head of Clowns of America International, or some people call him Reince Priebus. Not his name. So we do not support in any way, shape, or form any medium that sensationalizes or adds to colorophobia or clown fear.
There's a name for that?
Colorophobia.
All right.
The Hollywood Reporter says the membership in Clowns of America International has decreased, perhaps due to growing clown fear. From 3,500 to 2,500 clowns the past 10 years. They're almost extinct, people. We are down to only 2,500 clowns.
With, Twisty the Clown. Who
That
can
is
blame
almost exactly an analogy of the Republican Party. Just shrinking.
him? How come they didn't put out a press release for Stephen King's It? That was a terrifying clown.
I don't know. Didn't we have some clowns on the loose up in, where was it? Fresno? Where? Bakersfield?
Bakersfield.
Some rampaging clowns.
No, it turned out to be an art project.
Oh. So it was not a reaction?
It wasn't a reaction,
okay,
no.
Twisty.
No.
Okay, all right. That concludes the clown segment. 46 minutes after the hour, right back.
Until we talk about Republicans again.
Yes. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Dude.
I don't know. Every subject is coming together on Twitter. Blake Farenthold, Representative Blake Farenthold of Texas, does look exactly like Otter.
Yep.
From Animal House, and it's true. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Eclectic John.
And I think we were talking about, I don't know, killer clown movies, something. Steph, get Blake Farenthold a break. In those movies, the doughy, fat, sleazy frat guy's the first one to get killed. It's true. Remember Wayne Rogers in Jurassic Park? So it's true. The big fat, I'm just saying.
Wayne Rogers?
No.
Wayne Rogers was
No,
from
the
MASH.
guy from Seinfeld. You know who I mean. Newman.
Wayne Knight. Wayne Rogers was from MASH, and now he's a right-wing lunatic on Fox Business Channel.
Oh, all right. Well, I did not mean to imply that I wish he got eaten in Jurassic Park. Here's a weird story.
Okay.
A man who was wanted for stealing a car and shoplifting in Monroe County, Tennessee, was discovered inside the dark closet of another person's house, casually eating a big bowl of salad.
As you do. What?
At least he takes care of him.
What was he wanted for?
Stealing a car.
Oh, okay. You said that, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. I was producing here.
I understand. Listen, it was 2014. There's no need to hide in the dark closet anymore tossing salad.
Oh.
What?
For me, salad is only a crouton delivery device.
You're weird.
I love croutons. I'm sorry.
Paul in Brighton, you're on the today's show's weird. Hello, Paul. Welcome.
Yeah, great show, you guys.
Thank you. I think it's weird, but go ahead.
Oh, that's good. But I think I figured out what President Obama's master plan is. It's somewhat based on Republican statements, and Obama gave it away by mentioning Ebola SWAT teams. I think he's going to send Ebola SWAT teams to everyone's house to confiscate their guns,
right?
Give them Ebola.
Yes.
And then send them to Obamacare death panel.
That's right. That's right.
The survivors will then be put in FEMA prison camps.
Yep.
And Obama will then set up his Kenyan communist socialist utopia by moving
martial law, right?
Yeah, by moving everyone from Africa to this country, which will become the United States of Kenya.
Yes.
What do you think?
I nailed it. Nothing but net, my friend.
Oh, they put that theory out on Fox News every day.
There's some right-wing doofus listening right now going, aha, I told you! I'm going to send this tape to Hannity. Brian in Detroit, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Brian.
Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, sir.
Chris.
Hi.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall of that room where the guy found the mouse at the bottom of his coffee. That'd be one hell of a spit take, don't you think?
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, get some distance on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a bit.
Exactly. Oh, all right. Oh, that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
He just had thoughts on that. Okay, Brenda in St. Paul, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. It's Random Thoughts with Stephanie Miller. Hi. Hi, Brenda.
I just wanted to say that in 2014, April of 2014, an international traveler arrived in the Twin Cities with a case of Lassa fever. That's another viral hemorrhagic infection. Nobody seems to know about it. Nobody seems to remember. And you know why?
Why?
Because it was quickly identified. They were isolated, and they were treated.
Yeah.
And so the same thing happened in Pennsylvania in 2010. So, it is a Texas problem.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they do everything bigger and dumber in Texas.
Lack of regulation and lack of a proper school system.
Could be.
I mean,
by the way,
that's how you get people like Blake Farenthold in Congress.
Oh boy. Speaking of awesome things that you make it sound like he's Gomerty. Okay. Speaking of awesome things that just happened in Minnesota, Elizabeth Warren was there.
Oh, yay.
Speaking, she invoked the spirit of the late Paul Wellstone, the fiery liberal senator who died 12 years ago this month in a plane crash. She said the game is rigged and Republicans rigged it, she said to Cheers in her 20-minute speech. She recalled late-night conversations as a Harvard law professor with Wellstone in the late 1990s as he fought bankruptcy legislation supported by Wall Street. Pumping her fists in the air, waving to the crowd in the rafters of the hall, she delivered a speech that was a mix of professorial lecture and progressive call to arms. Yay. She talked about her legislation co-sponsored by Al Franken, Senator Al Franken, that will allow borrowers to refinance their education loans, an issue that drew huge applause on a campus where tuition, room, and board is close to $60,000. Banks have fought the bill, which was filibustered by Republicans in the Senate, and Warren pledged to take the fight against the banks on the issue early next year. She said, we're coming after them. I just love her. I just do. By the way, the president said last week that she knows a lot of people are not even thinking about the midterms. I just read an LA Times headline that, getting out the black vote is going to be key. Latinos may sit out this the election. Don't do it. Go vote.
Yep.
That's what that's always the problem. The president was saying we're not paying as much attention, and apparently I never ever mention the midterm elections. That's the other problem because you're a bad producer.
I suck.
Okay, Jim in Portland, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Jim.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Why does the federal government have a patent on Ebola? And I went to the patent office online and found that out.
I don't know what you mean. Oh, you think the government created Ebola and released it?
Well, no, that's what the patent says. Created, sole possessor, da-da-da.
You mean a vaccine? Are you talking about a vaccine or Ebola itself?
Ebola itself.
Huh.
Take a look at it. Tell me what you think.
Okay.
Where did you see that?
Sorry. I'm guessing that is a. Isn't that the what do you call it? The storyline of the fiction novel that on the disease?
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, here's Snopes. Let's see. The claim is that the Centers for Disease Control owns a patent on Ebola. It's a mixture of true and false. The CDC did patent a strain of Ebola in 2010, but it's false that the CDC created Ebola and obtained a patent for it to restrict or profit from the development of a vaccine.
Right, but that was the storyline of the fiction novel 30 years ago, is that the government creates it and then releases it deliberately, and then there's a hero doctor that saves everybody.
It's false.
So that is... Once again, a fiction novel about Ebola deliberately being released. Okay, so that all happened. Oh, boy. Just asking that, just throwing that out there. 58 minutes after the hour, that's it for us today. We will see you tomorrow on The Stephanie Miller Show.